Do you find yourself looking for the perfect glass of wine to go with your next spring meal, but you're not sure where to begin? Trust me, I got you covered. My name's Tiffany. I help busy millennials get dinner on the table faster so they have more time to enjoy life as they choose. Check out my link in the description below. Follow me on social media for daily tips, tricks, recipes, and inspiration to help you stress less in your kitchen and get dinner on the table faster, one meal and one glass of wine at a time. Now in this video, we are going to take a look at 3 perfect pairings that you are going to want to dive into right away this spring season. But that's not all. I also have a super simple strategy to help you create the perfect pairing with whatever recipe you decide to cook for dinner. So be sure to stick around until the end. Let's get started. So the first pairing that we are going to look at is wine with those leafy greens. Now, this usually looks like a salad, but you can have those leafy greens in so many different combinations. Now, when it comes to pairing wine with those leafy greens, whether this is spinach, kale, collard greens, or a nice spring mixture, you want to make sure that you choose a wine that is more acidic than the salad and the salad dressing. So most salad dressings are going to be on the acidic or tart side, especially those that are vinegar based. So you want to make sure that the wine is more acidic. That way it's going to complement your salad and your salad dressing without overpowering one or the other. Now, for more information diving into the secrets of pairing wine with salad dressing, check out that link in the description below, and you will learn so much more about pairing with that salad dressing specifically. Now, in addition to the dressing, we also want to make sure that that wine is less bitter than the salad greens that you have. Again, this is going to complement the flavor of the lettuce and that green mixture without overpowering anything else. So it will have a nice balance between the wine and those leafy greens. Now you also want to consider any of those add-ins. Do you have any veggies, fruit, chopped meat, nuts, seeds, or any other additions to the salad? Because all of these need to factor in when you choose out that perfect wine to bring everything together. So when you are looking at those wines, you want to choose a wine that we refer to as having a green or bright flavor. So this is going to be wines that have a grassy aroma or flavors that are very citrusy and almost like a gooseberry or green apple type. Some examples of these would be a Riesling, a Gewürztraminer, Chenin Blanc, and a Viognier. So these are typically going to be those bright, crisp white wines. Also the ones that you're most common going to want to pair with a nice sunny day. Now before we jump into the second category, I want to hear from you. What is your go-to spring dish on a nice sunny day? Drop it in the comments below. Bonus points if you've got a recipe too. Let's all come together and share some of our favorites so we can all stress less in our kitchens and enjoy our time together, one meal and one recipe at a time. Now, the second category that we're going to look at for these spring wine pairings is with fresh fruit. Now, you always want to look at what's in season. Typically this time of year, you're going to notice some berries and citrus fruits. So when it comes to these and pairing with wine, you want to make sure that the wine has very similar aromatics to complement those fruit flavors. Typically we want to go after a floral wine because that's what's going to enhance those either citrus or berry notes that we're looking for in the fruit. So when it comes to these aromatics, you might notice some hibiscus on your nose, maybe rose, lavender, or any of those other fresh floral and herbal aromatics. These are going to be most common in, again, those white wines such as a Riesling or a Gewürztraminer. But you also might notice a little bit of this in your Sauvignon Blancs as well. Now, one of the best parts to fully immerse yourself in these wines is to take advantage of those local tastings at your local liquor store. This gives you a chance to see the wine, sniff the wine, swirl it around, depending on the size of that tasting cup, of course, and then you can sip it and truly get those notes. And a lot of times there will be a local representative on hand to answer any of those questions that you have about that specific winery. So it's a great way to become more familiar with wines, not just in your local area, but also from across the country. Now, when it comes to pairing that wine with the fruit, you also want to make sure that it is sweeter than the fruit itself. This is again going to complement and balance out those flavors so that way the wine doesn't overpower the fruit or vice versa. Now, before we dive into that third category, I want to remind you to hit that subscribe button. I'm dropping videos like this every week, and I would hate for you to miss out on the next tip or trick shared right here inside my tasting room. So the third category that we are going to take a look at is root veggies. Now, this typically comes around later in the spring, especially those of my gardening friends. So you're typically going to see carrots, radishes, maybe some spring onions, and all of these root veggies, when it comes to pairing those with the perfect wine, you need to look for a common theme, whether that be an aromatic or a flavor. It's going to be different for each vegetable, and it's going to be different for each wine. So let's take a look at some of those common pairings. Now, some of these root veggies, especially depending on how you're roasting them or cooking them, you might have some baking spice notes, such as cinnamon or nutmeg. Now, with those flavors, you want to find a wine that is going to match that baking spice level, which your best option is going to be a Zinfandel. This has those spicy notes already in the wine, so it's going to accent that seasoning of the root vegetable. Now, a similar is going to be a Barbera, which is going to have a little bit of the baking spice, but more heavy on the star anise or black licorice flavors. And so that is going to pair really well with those, not just on a flavor side, but also with the aromatics. Now, if you are looking for baking spices with a little bit of fruit, maybe you're also wanting to add in some cranberries or berries with those roasted carrots or Brussels sprouts, a Grenache or a Tempranillo is going to be your best pairing for that option. These red wines are very fruit forward in a juicy way with those berry notes, but they have that little hint of baking spice on the back end, being a very well-rounded experience and complement to that veggie side dish. And lastly, with citrus herbs in those roasted veggies, so think basil, cilantro, parsley, a little bit of lemon zest or lemon juice, a Sauvignon Blanc is your best option to go with those. It's going to brighten everything up and really accent those citrus notes while bringing everything together. Now let's keep this momentum going by helping you create the perfect pairing for your next meal with these 3 simple tips. Number 1, red with red and white with white. Now, while this is not always a standard in stone rule, it is a good rule of choice to follow with a little bit of gray area. Generally speaking, your red wines will pair best with your red meats and your red pasta sauces, and white wines will pair best with your white meats and your white pasta sauces. But that is not always the case, and that leads us to tip number 2, which is to consider your sides and seasonings. As we discussed earlier in this video, those sides and seasonings can make or break a meal with the right wine. So for example, chicken parmesan. Chicken being a white meat, typically you would think of a white wine, but because of that red tomato-based sauce, a red wine is going to be the better option to bring the full meal together. especially depending on what vegetables or side dishes you are including with that main course. And number 3, sweet likes heat. Now, those of you that are looking for some spicy cuisine, a sweet wine is going to cut back on the heat and balance it out, bringing out flavors that you may not have even known existed in that spicy dish. But on the other hand, if you are wanting to accent the heat and spicy notes, grab yourself a dry wine and it will do just that. But remember, I warned you. Now, to continue learning tips and tricks to help you get dinner on the table faster, be sure to hit that subscribe button and check out my link in the description below so you don't miss out on the next tip or trick shared right here inside my tasting room.